Hockey friends, it is Thursday, June 5th in the United States and Canada, and this is a show called What Chaos, presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code WhatChaos. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. Prize Picks, run your game. In Boston, Massachusetts, my name is David Bean. I sit beside my dear friend Pete Blackburn, and across the room is a Cats guy, but we love him anyway. It's Sean DePaz. Happy birthday, Sean.
Thank you. Happy
birthday,
Thursday,
Peter.
Pete.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean.
Peter.
Wow. I was fully expecting Sean to follow up. Thank you with no, I'm actually an oil guy. The guy's all over the map.
He's been dude.
Flip-flop city, Mitt Romney over here.
Yes.
He's been all over
Great reference.
Mitt Romney. I gave you in the show thumbnail. I gave you John Kerry. I should have done Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney, I think,
John
is a
Kerry
more...
doesn't. It's like over my head.
Oh, John Kerry was a big you're gonna vote for this guy? Wait until he flip-flops. He's a fucking flip-flopper. Sean's been all over the map. Can't trust anything he says. Pete, tell the folks, because we got a loaded one, what's on the show today?
We do have a loaded one. Today on the show, we're going to talk about Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. The Oilers, they did it. They won. The series is over. It's crazy. We're going to talk about Jake Wallman equals Bobby Orr. I disagree, but we'll get to it.
It's a new thing. If a good defenseman's good, they're Bobby Orr. I want to make that a thing.
I don't recall Bobby Orr having any presence on TikTok, but we'll save it. This is a PD episode. We're going to be joined by Steve Peters later in the show. We'll talk Game 1. We'll talk about what he saw, this matchup. The Game 1 set the table. I'm so excited for tomorrow night already.
I know.
And then Marco Sturm is officially the Bruins head coach. They made it official this morning. Finally, we'll discuss. We're going to be joined by Josh Schaefer.
Josh Schaefer.
Kings
play-by-play.
Kings broadcaster. Worked alongside Marco Sturm with the Ontario Reign. Knows quite a bit about him. So we asked him some questions. What do we expect? What can we expect with Marco Sturm as the head coach of the Boston Bruins? That was a fun discussion. And then finally, Sean Monahan. He won the Masterton Trophy. We all thought he would. We all hoped that he would. Frankly, shouldn't have even been close. No disrespect to Gabriel Landeskog or Marc-Andre Fleury. But Sean Monahan, our guy, he got it, and I'm happy for him.
Yes, well-deserved. We'll discuss. And I'm liking these little, at the end of the show, kind of doing some assorted odds and ends from around the league, because we're starting to get a little more rumors. There's more fallout from teams that have been eliminated, so we'll talk about something the Stars might do. I'm going to bring up something maybe we could have the Bruins do. Remind me, because I didn't put it in the notes, but I meant to discuss it. It involves getting themselves a center for David Pastrnak. But let's begin with the Oilers taking Game 1 over the Panthers. If you did not watch our watch-along, our stream, we hope that you do and that you're subscribed on YouTube. We made a vow, and if we had more time, we would make a borderline political ad vowing and promising that this Stanley Cup Final, Pete, what will we not give you?
Takeaways.
We will not give you drugs or takeaways. We will not give you takeaways.
That's a little bit of a smudging of the commitment and the vow. We said no takeaways for Game 1.
I meant it for the whole series.
Okay.
I'm not stupid enough to do a takeaway. We're going to do observations.
Oilers sweep after they win Game 4. Just no takeaways.
Gotta
wait for more.
I did get one. We discussed last night. Observations, not takeaways. Observations are things that you see and that happened. Takeaways are developing stories, trends that you're putting in your head, saying this means this means this. And these are two teams that we are not foolish enough to do that with. In fact, when Chris Johnston, our guy, tweeted that the Panthers were 31-0 it'll just be 31-0 in the postseason when leading after 1 or 2 periods under Paul Maurice. I laughed it off right then and there. I didn't say that, okay, well, the Oilers are going to win, but I'm like, well, that's a useless bit of information. Oilers come back and win that game. And if you had told me that when the Oilers were up 1-0 in the second minute of the game, that, when the Oilers score within the first 2 minutes, then blah, blah, I would say, cool. Do you have a printer and a match, please, so I can light that on fire? Because takeaways in this series with these two teams, very dangerous. We're not doing it.
I disagree with the useless bit of information. The information is still welcome. Like, it's nice to know, especially when the Oilers come back and win that game. You should know that that the Panthers don't do that. The Panthers don't give away those kinds of games, which is something that you can credit to the Oilers here. But the no takeaways thing is nobody should be overreacting to anything that you saw in game one, no matter how it went, no matter what the script looked like. That doesn't matter. Like, I hate to say it, it doesn't matter. Look at what happened in last year's Stanley Cup Final. The Panthers won the first 3 games, and it was decided by 1 goal in Game 7.
Right.
Both of these teams are never dead. Both these teams have shown plenty of resilience. Both of these teams are very, very well equipped to handle whatever the beginning of the series throws at them.
Yeah, the way that 716 Nick in the chat,
My guy.
the greatest. If it weren't for that guy, I'd have Erasmus Ristolainen jersey. That's another story for another time. The way I think of it is we should think of this series and visualize it as whether it's a game of Connect 4 or even one of those things that the teams use with the pucks. Every time they win a game, they put a puck in the thing, and then it's one bit like teams are adding pucks. This is a build, like we are taking strokes and painting a picture. Okay. So
strokes.
A team was going to win last night. A team was going to be up 1-0. And then maybe the next game a team was going to tie it or it would be 2-0. Look, are we going to bend the rules of no takeaways? Of course. Are we going to still make it our brand and possibly my identity this entire series? Sounds like something we would do. Okay? So just bear with us. I have been watching a show due to recent developments called The Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gotts the last couple of days, and I'm over the moon for it. Love this show. It's a guy and like 400 producers, and they do an amazing sports show, and they were doing some great Cup Final talk today. This is a show that's based in Florida, and the host of the show, Dan Le Batard, called it a crushing loss for the Panthers because this was the first time that the Panthers had to possibly consider they're playing a team better than them this postseason. I found it a very interesting Florida perspective. Not what I would think for the Panthers, but should the Panthers, we know that they won't feel crushed, but should they feel they kind of let one slip away?
Yeah, I think maybe just based off of the fact they blew a multi-goal lead in that game and like were much better in the second period. Like, I think that you can feel like you kind of let one slip away, especially like Sergei Bobrovsky didn't have the best game yesterday, and if you win a game where Sergei Bobrovsky isn't great, like you feel really good about that.
Agree.
But like I don't think it's a crushing loss. And did Florida fans not consider that the Oilers might be just as good or better than them? Like it was a 7-game series last year, and this team got better. They've got Leon Draisaitl, who's healthy. We'll talk about that. But I think that it's if you're coming away from game one saying, like, I'm just now realizing that we might be playing a team that's just as good as us or perhaps better than us, then that's on you for not watching the Oilers, not considering what this run has been on the other side of the bracket.
Yeah, I mean, Petey has said, I think, like, by the time it reaches, say, the conference final, you are pre-scouting so heavily. It's the easiest thing in the world. I mean, the players themselves even couldn't do it because the other team is playing the night that you're not playing. So, like, you're not going out and tying one on, hanging out in your hotel room, watching hockey. So I think both of these teams understand that the other team is unbelievable. And I also think that both teams have risen to the occasion. That was a fucking awesome game last night.
Yeah. I like Dangerous Wade's suggestion. Call it an educational theory instead of a takeaway.
Exactly.
We're the only podcast doing Stanley Cup Final educational theories.
Hypotheses, if you will,
Yes.
or hypotheses, I should say. Roy Bellamy, I thought, had a good, not takeaway, but I would call it a read. Here's a tweet from Roy Bellamy, our dear friend of the hockey show.
Yo
on
Mama.
Meadowlark. Yes, Yo Mama joke pioneer. Florida looked exhausted and passive. They couldn't get anything going in the third or overtime. Plenty of flip-outs and dump-ins trying to get fresh players on short shifts, giving the puck back to Edmonton. Icings leading to face-offs in their own zone. Then the penalty. Not an ounce of fat on that tweet. Roy telling us what he saw. Roy telling us what he meant. The first sentence of it is what's interesting. Could the Panthers be tired? Could they be feeling the effects of 3 long runs?
We just got a month off.
I hope, yes. My answer would be, I hope not, because although they do have a couple of geezers on their team, they've got guys in the prime of their career who were just given a week off from hockey.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. They played a lot of games over the past like three years, and more so than anybody. But at the same time, like they looked really good in the Eastern Conference Final and then got a week off. I'm not going to read too much into one game where they didn't finish all that strong. Had a really good second period. Obviously, the third period and overtime were largely tilted in Edmonton's favor. I don't think it's worth like an overreaction, but it is worth considering that maybe they just ran out of gas a little bit at the end of game 1.
Okay, I think there are 2 players that we're probably going to discuss a lot for Edmonton on today's show. One is Leon Draisaitl, and one is Jake Wallman, and there are obvious reasons why we'll discuss both of them. I want to make sure that we get in there, though. Stu Skinner was unbelievable in that second period, and then for the rest of the game didn't allow a goal. After Florida went up 3-1, and Edmonton came within 1 bad goal that Bob allows on the Arvidsson slap shot. Also, rewatching the game this morning, Oilers were doing a couple of those where they like get close to Bob and wind up and let it rip. Wonder if that's some sort of pre-scout thing, or maybe they just saw that he was bad on rebounds, so they were like, you know what, let's just launch him on him. But when it was 3-2 on the stream, we discussed Stu has allowed 3 goals. The game is not yet halfway done. This is kind of uncharted territory for him because it feels like the Oilers are very much in this game. Can he just only allow 3 or 4 goals in this game? Can he lock in from here and say, it's kind of like, so I have problems with food and eating. If I eat something bad early in the day, my brain says, well, you're having a bad day. You're a piece of shit. You're not doing it right. Pizza for dinner, chicken fingers for dinner,
Steering into the skid.
Steering into the skid, exactly. Stu does that a lot, where he allows a couple of goals in the first 20 minutes of the game, and it's like, well, I guess I'm having a bad game now. Stu did the opposite last night. 3 goals in the first maybe 25 minutes of the game or whatever, and from there, best player on the ice in the second period. Obviously, keeps it together the rest of the way.
Also worth mentioning that like those 3 goals were not really his fault.
No.
Like
Sam Bennett doing God mode Sam Bennett stuff that I rewatched that this morning too. He was kicking his feet around in the like 6 seconds leading up to that. He was tussling with guys and he was like honestly he was feeling around trying to find sticks. That guy is so fucking good
Savvy.
at what he does. Like brilliant player. And again, when I saw it live, I said, I tweeted when you thought I was writing a manifesto, what players in that moment realize, oh shit, I have a free goaltender interference card, and he jumps on the goalie, goal, bang. But it's not that he realized it in that split second. He was looking for it for 5 seconds leading up to it. So that's when you don't blame on Stu. Marchand power play goal. You'd like Stu to be a little faster moving across the net, but that's just not Stu. So fuck off with that. And the other one, the third one, Wallman, maybe Petey will fill us in on this, but like kind of looked like Wallman was going to somebody who was already covered, and that leaves Sam Bennett to go in all alone on Stu and beat him. Sam Bennett scoring 1 million goals. I'm not mad at it. But what's important is that he didn't do the I'm allowing goals tonight thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and if you're a Panthers fan too who's trying to talk yourself off the ledge here, like, first of all, you shouldn't be on the ledge. But number two, like, this is the difference this year to last year if we're making the comparison. One year, you got an unbelievable Sergei Bobrovsky game. This year, he was the worst goalie in this game. And like, he wasn't awful, but he wasn't the best goalie. And that, like, game one last year, you got severely outplayed.
Yeah.
More so than you did this time around. You just won because of the goalie last year. So, like, things ended up working out for you last year. I don't think it's worth being like, oh my God, they're running out of gas. Like, they're screwed in this series. Relax. It's gonna be fine. Also, I think that you gotta leave room for the fact too that the Panthers are playing the best team that they've played in these playoffs. And the Oilers are really, really good at weakening teams over the course of games. And that can happen to the Panthers. They're not this bulletproof team that can't be affected by that. Are they normal?
I kind of think they are, but I agree with you.
They're normally the team that does that.
Yeah.
But once again, like, they're playing a team that's in their neighborhood here. There's a possibility that can happen to them.
Okay, couple of stats that I want to run through from the great Megan Chayka. Loose puck shot recoveries, 54-43. That is great when the Oilers don't have Zach Hyman, because like that is Zach Hyman's thing. He's a dog playing fetch. He is going and getting that thing. So they still did that without Zach Hyman. Very good. Shots off rebounds, 6-3. That makes sense because Bob was kind of rebound city last night. But I agree. I do agree that like Bob definitely wasn't bad. He allowed one bad goal, but he also made a lot of good saves.
There were a lot of rebound. His rebound control wasn't amazing, but they didn't really make him pay for that.
Okay, let's get to the play of the game presented by, we don't have a sponsor for this thing, and it also wasn't the play of the game, but Tomas Nosek, very, very tough delay of game penalty in overtime, sends the puck over the glass, and then, thanks to the Sportsnet cameras, we see Jake Wallman. Check it out.
Played over the glass, and there's 20,000 making the call.
Okay, Jake Wallman, godsend, what a pickup, great player, et cetera, better than anyone expected. Pete, explain why that had to be the worst moment of Tomas Nosek's life.
Because he just committed the worst penalty of his entire life on hockey's biggest stage, and then 1 second later, there's a famous TikTok guy in your ear just saying,
possibly, and if you're not watching the video, yes, Jake Wallman gets in his ear and gives him like is Nelson the character in The Simpsons?
Yeah.
Gives him like a ha-ha right in his face. I love Jake Wallman. If it weren't for this guy, I would have a Jake Wallman jersey.
It's true.
He's got to be top 5 most annoying players in the league. He's got some Subban to him where it's like, that guy's going to fucking piss me off, and I'm going to let him piss me off, and I shouldn't let it happen, but it's going to happen, and Wallman does that. Great moment.
Yeah, he's pretty obnoxious. He's an obnoxious guy, endearing for the most part. If I was Nosek, like, to Wallman's credit, like, I probably would have punched him in the face there and probably gotten an extra 2 minutes on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's good gamesmanship. I love it, especially in that stage, especially against the Panthers, who are the most annoying team in the league, I think, to play against. Probably safe to say.
Yeah.
Give it right back to him. I like that a lot. It's the only thing that I'll say here is that's game one. There's a lot of hockey left to be played. There's a very good chance that ends up being turned on the Oilers fan base and used as ammunition against them.
Oh, big time. And I think that Brad Marchand and Matthew Tkachuk are licking their chops, being like, oh my God, challenge accepted. Because that's the thing. It's a good point. Like, Panthers are the nastiest team. They're the dirtiest team. They're everything that will get under your skin. But Oilers are the most physical team that they've faced so far. And they do have guys, Evander Kane, Jake Wallman, who will piss you off and annoy you. So while I will take the Panthers 10 times out of 10 in a battle of annoying and cheap and pissing you off, the Oilers do have that. And they have Trent Frederick as well. Wallman, though, godsend of an acquisition. has been great. One of the best defensemen throughout the entire postseason for anybody. Led the game last night with 4 blocked shots. He could have died like several times and stayed in the game. Great for him. He assisted Draisaitl's first goal. He fucked up, like I said, on that second Sam Bennett goal. But he also, do you remember the play in overtime? He was on his knees, like high in the zone, and still controlled the puck and kept the play going to set up a Trent Frederick chance where we were like, God, if Trent Frederick scored, that would have been unbelievable. Honestly, it's better for Jake Wallman that Trent Frederick didn't, because it allowed him. He was like, I already got that cool play stashed, and now later if someone takes a penalty, I get to piss them off and be an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, Wallman's been great. I think really, really strong addition, but also I think that the obnoxious factor is added bonus for the Oilers.
Wonderful.
Especially in this series.
Wonderful behavior from Jake Wallman. A wonderful app and wonderful service, a wonderful glass of wine to accompany the game, dare I say, is Prize Picks. It is the number one place for any of your DFSing. If you're trying to 2x, 3x, or I'm sorry, 2x, 4x, 8x, whatever it may be.
I'm trying to 2,000x.
You're trying to 2,000?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
Tell me how to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Here's how you do it. Okay. You turn your playoff hot takes into big wins. Starting with, sorry, I found myself on a basketball thing.
Okay.
You head over to the Prize Picks app. It's easy to use. You create a lineup. All you got to do is pick more or less on a few player stats for your shot to win up to, you guessed it, Pete, 2,000x your money. It's the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. Like I said, if the game is the meal, that's what's giving you sustenance. But Prize Picks, it doesn't take over. It doesn't dominate your experience. It doesn't take away from whatever your rooting interests may be. And that, I feel, can happen sometimes with some of these betting endeavors. This is more like you're playing a game while you're watching the game. It's a great feeling, and it's really fun. Once you're starting to sniff around, you got a player, say, I got more than 3.5 shots on goal for Evan Bouchard or whatever. When Bouchard gets like 2 in the first 12 minutes of the game, that feels good. And it's a fun thing to ride throughout the game. PrizePicks also invented flex play, which means you could still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You could double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the app, use code WhatChaos, and get that $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code WhatChaos, and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
What do you call Prize Picks?
It's a glass of wine.
Well, you should never drink on an empty stomach. So if you're playing Prize Picks, make sure you're pairing it with Factor meal kits, because Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. Those things are dietitian approved, and they're ready to heat and eat in not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, just 2 minutes. Only 2 minutes.
You fucking kidding me?
That's right. Tomas Nosek can throw the puck out of the entire arena, go to the penalty box, and have a Factor meal kit ready when he gets out of that. Actually, it won't be ready because the Oilers will score, and the 2 minutes will not be fulfilled. But if the Panthers were able to kill that penalty, Tomas Nosek would have a hot meal, chef-made, gourmet, ready to go right as he gets out of the penalty box. And you can pick from over 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu every week. Super easy to pick meals tailored to your goals, whether you're talking you want to watch your calories, whether you want to get more protein, whether you're on keto. They've got you covered. And you can feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons as well. So eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/whatchaos50off and use the code WhatChaos50off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. One more time, that's code WhatChaos50off at factormeals.com/whatchaos50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
Oh, my goodness. Let's bring in our favorite guest, the heartbeat of this whole thing. Steve Peters, longtime NHL video coach, inside the coach's room on YouTube. Look at him. He's all kitted up. He's wearing his hat. He's even wearing his glasses. Hi, Petey.
Morning, guys. Yeah, and can I be honest, DJ, to start this off? I usually want to be honest with you guys. So I get a text, hey, can you be on tomorrow? What time did you send that? Like, it was later, and I went to bed. So I get up this morning seeing a text, hey, can you be on tomorrow? And tomorrow to me is Friday. And so, yeah, no problem. So I start doing my work, and I look at the clock, and I look at those texts again, because you sent another one, and I go, oh, no, this is in 3 minutes. So thus the hat, the unpreparedness. I was not quite prepared. Like, I've seen the game. I'm prepared on talking. I just was thinking Friday.
That's on us.
I apologize.
That's on us. We decided that we were going to have you on like Monday of this week. And then, and then we forgot.
Yeah, chunked it, fumbled it.
But I keep that chaos time frame open all the time. That 12:30 U.S. time, I keep it
It's
open,
amazing that you make time for us. I'm going to ask you about this first because you were a longtime video coach, and really, teams should be jumping over houses trying to get you as their video coach. But I get it. You don't want to move around, whatever. The Sam Bennett thing. Oilers challenged that goal, and we discussed it for a little bit, where Sam Bennett, in the seconds leading up to it, is kind of like fishing around, trying to like look for skates or anything that could quote unquote trip him into the goalie. He's the best in the world at that, possibly. He's been doing it for years now. Oilers challenge it right away, though, because in the moment we see, who is he tussled up with? It was Kulak who ended up. I think
Kulak and Wallman, yeah.
Yeah. And
Kulak and Wallman.
We see it in real time. We say, wait, Wallman didn't do anything there. They should challenge that. And then on the replay, you see that there was a little Kulak to it. In that moment, how much time do you say, okay, we're going here, and what would you have done?
Here's the problem, and the biggest problem, we're sitting at home watching it with absolutely no stress and pressure. The video guy's in a room with other voices, other people, one, in his ear, and two, he's looking for the replays that are going to help him make this call. And on top of all that, you got 90 seconds. And 90 seconds sitting and watching on TV is an eternity. 90 seconds in the video room is lightning quick. And you've got to find the replay that shows what you want. Here's the deal. Bennett right now creates the whole play, and we're going to tune in later to make sure you see this breakdown, but he causes this whole play to happen long before. As you guys said, he's stumbling in front with Wallman long before the play happens. But what he does by tying up Wallman in front of the net, he doesn't allow Wallman to get the puck. And the puck gets dumped into the corner. This is Edmonton's puck all day long. Like, there's two players closer to the puck. Both Wallman and Kulak are way closer than Tkachuk. Tkachuk's on the other side of the ice. But Tkachuk gets the puck because everybody's focused on Bennett. And that's the kind of things he does. He brings in that attention. Now, the second thing is, there is no doubt Bennett interferes with the goalie. We all see it. The goal goes in because Bennett falls into the goalie, period. So now the video guy's job, it's, yes, there's interference with the goaltender. Now, how is that created? And whose fault is it? Is he pushed in? You're always looking, is he pushed in first? The answer is no, he's not pushed in. So what creates his momentum into the goal? And you watch it, and I've watched this frame by frame. And their feet do collide. Kulak's feet bump with Bennett. There is no question, no doubt. Now, my mind, does Bennett help this and Bennett fall into the goalie? Without a doubt, he falls into the goalie. Could he have stayed on his feet? I think so. I don't see that the disturbance of the foot of Kulak is enough to knock Bennett over into the goalie. I don't. However, if the foot of Kulak does not go into Bennett's foot, Bennett doesn't fall. If Bennett makes that reaction where he falls back into the goalie without the feet touching, it's goalie interference. But because of the contact of the feet, that created the fall, that's what created the contact, this goal should stand. Incredibly difficult call for Noah Segal with the Edmonton Oilers. Incredibly difficult. One of the things that I would use to sway this is the timing of the game. This is 10 minutes in. It makes the game 1-1. Okay, we can battle back. We're tied. We're even. So that's one thing that would say, gosh, unless I'm 100% sure, I can't make this call. Secondarily, you're going into this playoff series with a 66% penalty kill. Buddy, like, if you're running 98, yeah, throw the flag. Like, you're feeling really confident. Right now, you're not confident in your penalty kill. 10 minutes in, with the penalty kill being as bad as it's been, and you're tied 1-1, worst case out of this, I don't make the challenge. And I did pick up the phone because I don't trust myself. And I called other video guys around the league, guys that are in the game right now. And to a man, they said, I wouldn't have made the call. And I'm not knocking Noah Segal. Like, it's Bennett. Like, you think the referee might say, hey, this is Bennett knocking over the goalie. You might get the benefit of the doubt. But again, it's situational. It's a lot of pressure. I got to give it to Noah Siegel for having the guts to make this call at this time in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final.
Yeah, I mean, that's we were watching it live and we kind of recognized both sides of it. I would not have wanted to make a decision there.
I would have challenged it, and then I didn't realize until once they showed a replay and you saw Kulak, you're like, okay, well, there it is. Like,
right.
Fuck. And that's the difference between.
But when did he see that, though?
Exactly.
DJ?
Right.
That's
Exactly.
It was
like,
late. It was late in the process.
It was
If I'm
TSN's fifth replay. Right.
If I'm trying to call that,
It's late.
I probably, and this is why I'd be a shitty video coach, I'd also like be on my phone texting. But I would I would watch it and I'd look for Wallman and I'd say, nope, nothing, all good. And then you're probably looking at just Bennett's feet instead, right? Like you're not just looking for who's he tussling with. You're trying to see absolutely anything. There could be a second hitter, you know?
Yeah, and you don't know which replay is going to be the one that's definitively helping you make this call. And as you watched it on TV, well, the video guy has access to several cameras that are hardwired. Unfortunately, the one you saw the best was a reverse angle low shot. It was a handheld camera from the other side. You finally see the feet touch. But on the TNT feed, that's the fifth replay. Now you're 60 seconds plus into this now. Like you're at the point now where, oh my gosh, we've already made the call or we're nearing making the call. And I haven't seen that replay yet. So for us to see the two best replays of the feet touching came after they said we're throwing the flag. And that's one of the things, keep in mind too. You get what we see at home. Those are the replays. He's got a TNT monitor. He's got a Canadian Sportsnet monitor, and he's got the hardwired cameras. And if they don't show it, he doesn't see it. And so the best replays came after he actually made the call, which again makes this really, really difficult and makes it really easy for us sitting at home on the couch.
We're not doing takeaways from Game 1, but are you? Do you have any Game 1 takeaways?
You know, you don't. You don't. And you said it last year. Edmonton loses 3-0 in Game 1, and you move on. The thing you take away from Game 1 is the system plays on all the things you thought were going to happen. Is that what happened? And I think there's some things that you take away. Florida, who chases man-on-man in the defensive zone, I thought they did a better job of protecting the middle of the ice. So, okay, now I have to go back to the drawing board and adjust for that. I don't think that they were running around in the defensive zone like I was expecting them to do. So that's an adjustment. I think what you pull from Game 1 is things that you can adjust. And I think for the Edmonton Oilers, they're going to look long and hard at their penalty kill. I think the goal is them trying to be – everybody wants to be aggressive on the penalty kill. And right now, I don't think the Edmonton Oilers can be aggressive on the penalty kill. I think they got to be more passive. I think you have to let the play come to them and protect the front of the net. So I think what you do between Game 1 and Game 2 is you analyze all of the things that you can correct and all of the things that you expected to happen that didn't, and now you have to come up with a new game plan. By no means is either team going – hey, Edmonton's going, we won this thing, and Florida's going, we're out of it. But absolutely not. The margin of error between these two teams is absolutely razor thin. And I think you saw it in the ebb and the flow of the game last night. So no one's leaving this going, oh my gosh, this is lopsided. Edmonton's rolling. I don't think any of us, including you guys, think that's happening.
Oh, okay, Petey. We think that both these teams have gotten better from last year, but the games in the Stanley Cup Final last year, I'm going to give you the scores. 3-0, 4-1, 4-3, 8-1, 5-3, 5-1, 2-1. And there was a tweet from our guy Scott McLaughlin last night that I thought was a pretty good point. Like last year's final, he says, wound up being very compelling story-wise by the end, but it wasn't exactly filled with great games. Do you think that the games and how close they're played or do you think that the games will just be closer than they were last year?
I think the familiarity between the two teams is going to make these things closer. I think last year the difference is Edmonton and Florida, they don't know each other. They don't play often, and I know you're watching the film during the playoffs, but until you get in there and battle them, you don't know what they are. There's no secrets this year. They know McDavid and Draisaitl are driving the bus. Edmonton knows that Bennett, Tkachuk, and Verhaeghe, they're all getting to the blue paint, and they're going to be a problem. I think that makes these games tighter. So I think the coaching has helped make this a tighter contest. But you do see that the smallest of errors, the smallest puck play, is going to make a difference in this series. And I don't know if this series goes on, if it's going to make players more tentative, going, gosh, I really don't want to make a mistake here. I can't turn the puck over here. Or it's going to do the opposite, going, hey, let's just go. Let's just play. I do think we're in for a much tighter series, and I think you're going to see this go long. This is going to be long because Florida, when they get back home, they just have a different swagger. They're going to have different line matchups. They're going to be able to handle McDavid and Draisaitl a little bit better back in Sunrise. So I think we're in for tighter games. Now the caveat to that always is as you mentioned it, how good is Stu Skinner going to be, and how good is Bobrovsky going to be? The goaltenders, if they continue to play as they are playing now, I think we're in for a tight series. But either one falls off a cliff, yeah, you could see those games. You could see the 5-1 games.
Do you think Florida should be scared of the Leon Draisaitl factor? Because last year, didn't score a goal, was deeply hurt, and then game one, he's obviously the hero, scores twice. Like, is that the biggest difference from year to year outside of any additions that have been made roster-wise?
Yeah, I think we always say it. The Edmonton Oilers do as McDavid and Draisaitl do, and that's just reality. And I know they're relying on them less because they have 4 lines that can roll, and they're deeper than they were a year ago, without question. But McDavid was one guy you had to silence a year ago. Now you got to silence 2. And Draisaitl last night, when you go back, and I'm talking the little details, I know you see the goals and his ability to get the puck off his stick quickly and beat the goaltender. Amazing. But it's the little details on him winning the races to the puck, or him being able to push a player off the puck that helps create things that happen much later in the play. Those are the differences. And he's a big, strong guy, and he separates players from the puck, and he is going to be a factor in this series without question. And when you go back and watch his ability to be in the right place at the right time all the time, that's something that Florida is going to have more than just 97 in their mind. Now it's 97 and 29 and 92. Pod Colson. Well, look at that offensive wizard. I like Pod Colson.
Pod Colson, man. I looked up his hockey DB yesterday. I was like, how many goals did he have again this year? Did he have like 15, like 16? I want to say he had 8.
Yeah.
Like he's just,
and I feel like those were pretty front loaded.
He's just like he's a marker out there.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't even mention the Kasperi Kapanen breakaway that would have burned Edmonton to the ground because that place exploded so hard on the breakaway goal. Man, they had a number of opportunities that ended before they actually did last night.
And I think it's one of the things that Edmonton has, again, that this year, the 2 players we just mentioned, Podkolzin and Kasperi Kapanen, are 2 players that show their depth and what they could do. I tell you what, Podkolzin, anyway, I know we joke about him, but on the goal by Arvidsson, go back and watch what he does on that play. He drives through the neutral zone, and then he drives 2 defensemen. Both of the defensemen of the Florida Panthers, takes them out of the way, so Arvidsson has all the room, and then he has a presence of mind to get in front of the goalie as he's skating by. Bobrovsky never sees a shot. Podkolzin makes that goal, period. And the game winner, you talk about Nosek and the grief he's going to take for the rest of his career on that penalty. Why does it happen? Podkolzin. Podkolzin's on the wall on the other side of the ice, and he chases Nosek down, gets his stick near enough to Nosek to panic him. Nosek's got nowhere to go, all because of Podkolzin. So when we talk about little plays, Podkolzin chasing the puck down in the offensive zone in overtime, creating Nosek to throw the puck away, it's a nothing play. But in this game, because it goes over the glass, it defined the game. And that's what we mean. All these little plays lead up to everything big. And Podkolzin chasing Nosek down ends up being the difference in game 1. And I know it'll get lost in what a great goal that they score on the power play. But that's how tight the series is. And that's how every shift you're out there, you cannot make a mistake. You have to play the right way. And doing that for 60-plus minutes at that pace is nearly impossible.
We talked about going into the series how few exploitable things there were for teams, well, this team is bad at this, and this team is great. Like, pretty much both these teams are really good at everything. Like, the Oilers don't have a good penalty kill, but we know that these people have been good penalty killers before, and they can have one. Is there anything, and not just like from last night, but do you think there is a thing for either of these teams where you say, oh, well, they're going to eat them up on this?
Yeah, and I've said it. I said it before. I think the neutral zone is going to be a big key for this. And the Edmonton Oilers, through the first 3 rounds, scored 21 goals off the rush. Their ability to get through the blue lines quickly and get the puck from their end to the other end of the ice is absolutely amazing. Now you counteract that by being a good rush read team. Well, the problem with Florida and the way Florida defends through the neutral zone is they're extremely aggressive, and they want to close gaps, and they want to be right on top of the opposing player. That's great when you create turnovers. The problem with the speed and skill of the Edmonton Oilers, I'm looking for Edmonton to be able to play behind them. And I'm looking for Edmonton to be able to make the skilled plays at the blue line with Ekblad right up in your face to be able to chip the puck by him. I think that's going to be the biggest advantage for the Edmonton Oilers in this series. For the Florida Panthers, it's about getting to the net. And it's about their ability to drive and get to the blue paint. We talked about it with Bennett and Tkachuk and Verhaeghe. And the list goes on what Florida can do at getting to the net. Edmonton's been great at defending the net front, but their defensemen also drift. And we talked about, Kulak and Bouchard. This is a tougher task than they've had to deal with throughout these playoffs. So the two areas for me are the neutral zone for Edmonton, and for Florida, it's getting to the blue paint.
Petey, what do you got coming up today?
I've been working diligently at coming up with a breakdown of every single goal last night and all of these little details that lead up to them. And stunning. Like I'm stunned at how really good players made some really big mistakes that led up to these. And again, that's nerves and that's first game chaos. So that's coming out here in the next couple hours. And then tomorrow I'm going to do a video breakdown on what these teams need to do going into game 2. So it's a lot more video and a lot of details on film. So going through film over the next 2 days, getting ready for game 2.
Watch.
Yeah. Speaking of mistake watch, I've seen a lot of discourse about the overtime winner and Leon Draisaitl being left alone there. Give us a little sneak, like who fucked up on that final play?
Give us
first of all, you got to give it to McDavid. Like McDavid has played over 30 minutes into the game, and he's far more ice time than any other forward in this game. And he gets the power play drop pass, which just was great speed through the neutral zone, and he comes flying. And that's what starts the whole play. But you're right. We talk about the aggressive penalty kill of the Florida Panthers. That makes a difference. You get Jones up by the blue line. Most teams allow their defensemen to go to the dot or the hash mark on the penalty kill, and that's it. Florida lets their guys go. And by letting Jones go, and he goes all the way out to the blue line, that's where things start to break down. He goes way too far on that play. So now once one guy goes, everybody's got to cover up for that mistake. And that's what ultimately leaves Draisaitl all alone in behind. It's because of their aggressive penalty kill of the Florida Panthers leads to that. And it's risk reward. And they're not going to change tomorrow, and they're not going to change for game 3. They're just going to hope that over time, their aggressive play is going to be a benefit and versus what it caused them in game 1.
I'll say, if we're talking about that, shout out Corey Perry. He did not have his finest hour, but I know it probably didn't make like a huge difference that he pulls Mikkola into the corner there when he gives that little like behind the back pass to McDavid, but I was rewatching this morning and I was like, God, what an incredible pass. But then I was like, it's also like to McDavid. So if you just kind of put it anywhere near him, he's just going to zip around. And because he's like a bug out there, he's unbelievable. But like, good play from Perry.
Yep. It is a good play from Perry, and he does those little things. The problem, first of all, it's McDavid's pass over Barkov's stick that's world-class elite on the winning goal. The problem with Perry is what you saw in the first period, and it's 2 more offensive zone penalties. Yeah. Dude can't do it. He just cannot do that. It was a fear coming into the series, and right through the first period, he does it twice. You get worried. So he is going to have to walk the line of being physical, being a pain in the rear end, and getting in front of the net and causing havoc without sitting in the penalty box. He's got to find that fine line.
He did that in game 1 against the Stars. Like, he was a big reason why they lost game 1 against the Stars. Tweeted it last night. If the Oilers get to round 5, got to scratch him in game 1 and just bring him back, like start him in game 2 and go from there. No more game 1s for Corey Perry, even though he helped him win the game last night. You're the best, Petey.
Yeah, you got to play on that edge. It's Florida. Thanks, guys. I appreciate having me on, and I'll do better at watching my tests and timelines. So
please, we'll do better at booking people properly. Make sure you're subscribed to Inside the Coach's Room on YouTube. It is the best hockey account going, and we are not just saying that. It's fantastic. Thank you, Petey.
We love you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Talk to you guys soon.
All right. That's the great Steve Peters, longtime video coach. We didn't ask the guy, Dan Muse.
Yeah, I thought this is what you were setting up your first question. You're like, as a video coach guy,
yeah, I was going to get to it at some point, but I forgot. Yeah, Dan Muse apparently was I think World Juniors video coach or something.
Yep.
But anyway, speaking of coaches, Boston Bruins have a new head coach. His name is Marco Sturm. We have discussed him a lot on this show. There was rumblings and grumblings. Cam Robinson saying last week that at some point the Bruins were going to name Marco Sturm their head coach.
I think it was like 2 weeks ago at this point.
It was kind of like a month ago.
Yeah.
Nailed it. And now the Bruins have their 30th head coach in team history. I feel like they have had 30 head coaches in my lifetime, but that is neither here nor there. Boston Bruins, first team with a German head coach in NHL history. I love it for our guys.
Only the 6th European head coach ever in NHL history. So
other 5, Sean. I don't fucking know.
that's so mean.
We got Lederhosen for you if you want to throw them on.
That's true. I mean, we could. There's a possibility, a decent possibility that we interview Marco Sturm within the next handful of months. If you show up in Lederhosen, that'd be so fucking funny.
Let's try to get him. Also, everybody who's watching, make sure you like the video and or subscribe because we got a good, healthy crowd in here right now.
That is my coach. That's my coach now. I think if you had told me at the outset of the offseason that they're going to hire Marco Sturm as a new head coach, I would, based off of the available pool of coaches, I probably wouldn't be that excited about it. I'm still not all that excited about it, but it's better to have a coach than not have a coach. And honestly, if we're giving credit to the Bruins front office, which we don't jump at the opportunity to do all that often, they're very good at hiring good coaches.
Yes.
They like to hire good coaches. The problem is they also like to fire good coaches pretty quickly.
Exactly. They're good at hiring and firing good coaches. I like this for them. I mean, they're the last team to hire a head coach, which not amazing, but the last team to hire a head coach last year knocked it out of the park. Columbus Blue Jackets took all the live long day, and they ended up getting a very good coach, albeit one with more experience than Marco Sturm has. But Sturm was an assistant coach on Todd McClellan's staff. I'll take someone off the McClellan tree. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And head coach of the Ontario Reign of the AHL. So we, in just a minute, will toss to a conversation that we had with Kings play-by-play guy, Josh Schaefer, because he was the play-by-play guy in Ontario when Sturm was there and knows a lot about him. And I won't repeat what he's going to end up telling us. We'll just let you see that. But it's a first-time head coach. That's interesting to me. A first-time NHL head coach. That's interesting to me. I don't think this team is running for office, so to speak. I don't think that we're going to see big, huge things from this team. So if they think that he's the next good head coach in the NHL, I like that better than saying, you know what, let's take a low-ceiling guy who's at least done it before.
I mean, people keep saying that the Bruins need to follow the Washington Capitals blueprint. And while I think that's a very flawed ideology,
they
because
need to have drafted a lot of awesome players who are going to be in the league the next 2 years.
Yeah, that's part of it. But also, a big part of it is that the Capitals were aggressive in the offseason and made trades. Were doing a lot of thinking outside the box, taking a lot of risks that they hit on basically all of them. But if your plan is to follow and hope that you have as much luck as the Capitals did, Spencer Carberry, good AHL coach that they promoted. Obviously, that was promoting within, and he had a lot of experience with a lot of those guys that eventually ended up playing for him in Washington. But this is a first step. Now, I think the focus is going to be and should be on the front office and what they do from this point on.
Okay, I'll jump ahead. We do our little assorted NHL rumblings and grumblings towards the end of the show. But since we're talking about the Boston Bruins, you had the thing from Kiprio saying that Martin Necas wasn't loving life in Colorado. I know that he is playing wing in Colorado. He's played more wing in his career than he has center, but drafted as a center. A lot of wings are. What if, and this is a team that, albeit under different coaches, but under this management group, has been okay at taking the drafted as a center, became a wing guy, move them back to center, Pavel Zacha, and see what they can do there. If you're the Bruins, do you push in your chips and try to get Martin Necas?
Couple issues with that.
You'd have to pay him like crazy.
Couple issues with that. That's number one, is I don't know what that guy wants to be paid, but the fact that we've had a couple instances already at this point where he's kind of raising a stink with the team that he's on, allegedly.
Yeah.
That makes me concerned about what the asking price is. And number two, you're not asking him to be a center. You're asking him to be your number one center for a guy who has not done it at the NHL level for the most part.
Yeah, fair. If you could trade for a young center, I mean, everyone wants to trade for a young center. If they can somehow manufacture a number one center, because I am not as out on Elias Lindholm as a lot of people seem to be. I think that he is...
Both problems with the signings that you had last year or that you're asking too much of those guys. And I'm talking about Lindholm and Zadorov, obviously. Like Zadorov can be a good defenseman. Just he's not supposed to be your first pairing defenseman. The other issue there is, like Lindholm is a good player, but you sign him to a number that kind of suggests that you expect more offensive output than you're probably going to get from him.
Definitely.
And that's an issue. You can make up for it elsewhere. While we're discussing the center possibilities for the Bruins, like where would you fall on a Marco Rossi type exploration?
Absolutely.
But do you want your number one center to be 5'9"?
I mean, I want my number one center to be a definite top 6 center.
I feel like it's
Marco Rossi is that.
Well, I brought this up when I was talking about Marco Rossi to the Sabres. I feel like it's fine when you have such a offensive driving wing that the Sabres and obviously the Bruins do. It's different with the Bruins because their wing is not quite as big as the Sabres,
right?
But still,
different players.
Yeah, but I feel like I don't really care. Like personally, I'm not as concerned about the size. Like I feel like the play styles would match well.
I do want to push back a little bit on, and I thought it was funny. I think there was they were talking about Nelson and Coyle of like, okay, so they got all this money tied up. They got what was it, $12.8 million, something like that, in Charlie Coyle and Brock Nelson. And you wouldn't just pay Mikko Rantanen. They also have Martin Necas. Like they traded Mikko Rantanen for this stuff, but they also gave up Cal Ritchie.
And you also have Necas for one more year,
2 more seconds.
Yeah,
until that guy is gone to wherever, maybe Boston. Here is our conversation with Josh Schaefer. If you want to know about Marco Sturm, you're not going to find anything better than this. Here it is. Josh Schaefer, Kings radio play-by-play guy. Before that, Ontario Reign play-by-play guy. So he was there when Marco Sturm was head coach of the Ontario Reign. Josh, good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, guys, anytime. Pleasure to be here.
Okay, we're looking for people who know anything about Marco Sturm outside of him being a player and a nice guy, because we can tell you that, but you covered him as a coach. What is he as a coach?
Well, you're right. He's a great guy. He's a great coach as well. It was interesting to get to work with Marco up close because, you know him as a player. I saw him as a player. And you hear all these things about how he's such a really good guy and how they loved him as an assistant coach with the Kings and the different things that he had his hands in. And then when he came down to join the Ontario Reign, it was nice to get to see his approach to working with the players. I know that he loves working with younger guys. There's a reason why the players loved working with him with the Reign. Obviously, I think that there's a reason why he was linked to some other jobs in the past as well. And I think it's the way that he works with young players, with the prospects. He said before, he views players, especially the younger ones, as if they're all his kids. So he takes a lot of pride in the individual successes that players have, especially those young players, but how that ultimately results in the team getting positive results as well. So it was really interesting to see him take that approach after he had been with the Kings for a couple of seasons and then gone down to Ontario, where he really was. It's interesting. I kind of view Marco as kind of the CEO when it comes to a head coach, because I think he works better as a head coach than he does as an assistant coach, because he gets to utilize his talent different ways and kind of have his hands in a bunch of different areas, as opposed to being an assistant coach focusing on one specific aspect of the team's game rather than, being involved in kind of everything.
Yeah, I feel like the one consistent thing that we've heard from everybody is just how good of a guy he is, and like kind of a player's coach who really, really connects well with his players. I saw Mark Diver from the Providence Bruins beat say that like he's heard that he's just a great communicator. What about his style of play? Like as a Bruins fan, what's the style of play that we can anticipate him bringing to this team?
From my understanding, when I was with the Reign, was that he was kind of put in that position to be the next head coach of Ontario because of how that would help the Kings going forward. He was an assistant coach on Todd McClellan's staff. He had kind of come from that, direction. And ultimately, for me, from what I could understand, it was the Kings wanted a shift in coaching for the Ontario Reign when they had this influx of young, talented prospects. Now, one thing led to another, and Marco Sturm ends up as the head coach a couple years after the Kings had kind of started to get all these young prospects in. And I think one of the big reasons why Marco worked in Ontario was because at the start, he knew how Todd McClellan's group wanted to play and what was the expectation of LA Kings hockey back then. So Marco becomes the head coach of the Ontario Reign to work with the prospects like he likes to do, to help develop that young talent, but also prepare those players for the opportunity to get called up, and they immediately fit into the way that the Kings wanted to play. They fit into what was their style at the time under Todd McClellan, and now things have changed with Jim Hillard being the head coach. They started to get a little bit more open, but they're focusing on, that defensive style of hockey and how that contributes to the offensive side. And that's obviously something that the Kings did really, really well this year. But for Marco this year, I think that it allowed him to coach a little bit differently, to have more of his, fingerprints on the way that the game was being played. It's different because, this was my first year with the Kings after spending the last couple of years with the Reign. But looking back at how the Reign played this year and the personnel that they had in Ontario, it was very different. And there were still a lot of guys that were going up and down between Ontario and LA. And ultimately, I think what Marco had done when he was with the Reign was he made the team competitive in its own right and good enough to beat anybody at the American League level. But he also made the players competitive enough and well implemented into the organization style of hockey so that when they did get promoted, similar to how it was when Todd McClellan was the head coach in LA, players were ready to succeed immediately. And we saw that a lot the last couple of seasons when guys did get called up late in the season for the LA Kings. This year, it was Jeff Malott. Jeff Malott's not a prospect, but the way that they played in Ontario made him the perfect fit to come up to LA when both Alex Turcotte and Tanner Jeannot, two very different players, were both hurt at the same time. They got the style of play they needed from a top-line guy in Ontario, Jeff Malott, who had a terrific season under Marco Sturm. So I think it's kind of just making sure that the team is competitive in its own right, but also giving individual players the opportunity to succeed regardless of what that level is. And I think that ultimately makes Marco a really good fit in Boston at the end of the day.
If Sturm coached him better in Ontario, Jeff Malott's first goal would have counted. So that's that's the shortcoming of the sickest goal
one of the best. Yeah, it was unbelievable, and it was funny because after that happened, I joke that once that got called back, Nick Nixon, who's a Hall of Fame LA Kings broadcaster, he kind of walked into my booth in the intermission. And I kind of looked at him. I was like, did you also really like your call on that goal? And he was like, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. And I've gone back and listened, and I was like, man, Nick's call was really good. And now it won't count. So
that was a fun week for the Kings, scoring unbelievable illegal goals in the NHL, being like, you know what? Some rule they have to be allowed. On Sturm, so you say he's a nice guy. Covered him a little when he was in Boston. Made a really good impression on me just as a nice person. And you say that he's a CEO type. How's his demeanor as a coach? Because now he comes to Boston where there's already a fan base that's like, don't just hire a former Bruin. We want a competitive team. And the roster, I mean, we all know what the roster is, so there might be some growing pains. How do you think he is suited to handle what probably will not be the most smooth transition in his first head coaching gig in the NHL?
It's really interesting because I think you guys might be able to speak on this better than me, obviously, but it's a weird situation for the Bruins because is it a rebuild? Like I'm not really sure what to expect from the situation that the Bruins are in. So Marco sliding in there, I think you're right, and I think that a lot of fan bases kind of have that hesitation when maybe a former player is brought in to be a coach. I mean, we've certainly seen things like that at a ton of places around the NHL. But ultimately, Marco, I think, is a really good communicator. He's really good with the players. He's great with the media, as I'm sure you've seen before. He is a terrific interview. He's great with the media. He'll tell you whatever you ask him. And really, when it comes to the players, I had done some work for LA Kings Insider this last year at the rookie face-off at development camp, and that's when the minor league coaching staff really has their hands in whatever all of the prospects are doing. Especially at rookie camp, they're the coaching staff for all of these preseason tournaments. And talking with Marco, you get a little bit of insight on how he communicates with his players. Whether it's these mid-season conversations with guys and talking about growing their role or expanding their role. I know that last year he had a conversation with one of Ontario's young players who absolutely lit up the Ontario Hockey League and then transitioned into kind of a different role in his first year in pro hockey. And that takes a good communicator to help a player like that who might have an idea of what they want their pro hockey experience to be like and the way that they play the game. And suddenly you have a very rude wake-up call to what pro against grown men that are twice your age, twice your size. It's hard. And Marco, who played as many games as he did, has coached in the different environments that he's been in as both an assistant and now a head coach. But I think it really takes those elite communication skills and hearing the way that he's communicated with players to get them to kind of change their psyche a little bit to improve their own game and the team's game going forward, I think is commendable. And the one thing for Marco, something that it seems like I've been a little bit privy to based off of the way that, things have been told to me and what I've seen, but also with my personal interactions with him as a member of the media, he is a terrific communicator. And he's also very vocal on the bench as well. I mean, that guy goes through cough drops like crazy. So he's very vocal. He's a great communicator. And I think that these are all really good things that you want out of a first-time NHL head coach in a very interesting situation, it looks like.
Okay, so he'll yell at guys.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. I couldn't necessarily speak to in what way he would yell at somebody, but he's a terrific communicator, and I think that's something that has always been very evident about him, both at the NHL and at the AHL level.
Okay, well, Josh, it was a very unique predicament in which Pete and I, and realistically speaking, everybody in the hockey world found themselves, because everyone knows who Marco Sturm is, and everyone knows what he looks like, and everyone knows what he has done, but they don't know shit about him as a coach. So your expertise here was invaluable. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Enjoy Marco. He's a great guy. I'm very happy for him. He absolutely deserves it, and looking forward to hopefully crossing paths again with him next year in LA and Boston.
Hell yeah. Well, we do a lot of Kings on this show, so we'll also have you on down the road. Appreciate you, man.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Great insight there. I'll also note this was recorded before last night's game, so I wasn't just using the word invaluable because Connor McDavid used it after the game last night.
Credit to you.
He called Leon invaluable.
He did.
I love English words like that. Invaluable, inflammable.
Invaluable.
Invaluable means like so valuable.
Valuable beyond estimation.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was gonna say like without value.
So I was saying it sounds like right. It sounds like
unvaluable.
Right. Like inflammable means like so fucking flammable, but it sounds like it means like, not flammable. That's the most dangerous word in the English language.
Inflammable? Yes.
Yeah, inflammable.
Yeah,
means...
like if I give you something and if somebody gives me something and says, this is inflammable, I'll be like,
cool.
I'll be like wearing it to pyrotechnic shows because I'll be like, I'm untouchable right now. This shirt is inflammable.
There's a second Simpsons reference in the history of this show and on today's show. There's a scene where I think a hospital's on fire and that Dr. Nick guy, you know him?
Oh, yeah.
He runs out and he says, what? Inflammable means flammable? What a country. And he had set the hospital on fire. Shout out the Joker. He also did that. Okay.
I think he knew.
The Joker?
Yeah, I think the Joker knew.
I have to go back and rewatch that.
I don't believe Sean hasn't seen The Dark Knight, so we don't know spoilers. But I think that the Joker set the hospital on fire on purpose.
Okay, I have to head down some fan wikis.
My media literacy is not the best, but I think that he set the hospital on fire on purpose.
That's the scene where like the reactor didn't work or whatever. The
you haven't seen it.
Yeah, but I know that scene's like super famous because it was an accident.
You are all over the map on whether or not you know about the Joker setting.
I don't think that's true.
Okay. We didn't discuss yet somehow. We're a big Jersey podcast, and Pete has been all over this. The patch placement, the Stanley Cup Final patch placement. We actually might have, because I remember we were pointing to where they were after game 5. Whatever. We're hotter on it now. The patch placement is on the opposite side of what it was last year, and there is room for the jersey sponsor. In the Cup Final last year, if you'll remember, there were no jersey sponsors. So letters over the heart, as God intended, patch on the other side. And this year, as you could see, letter still over the heart, patch next to that, jersey sponsor, all by itself, has all the space in the world, and that, Peter, looks gross.
I hate it so much. Capitalism is coming for everything you love, including the game that I love. And I hate this so much. The solution here, and I don't think I'm the only person to suggest this, but jersey ads should be sold for 82 games. You should sell them for 82 games, and then once the playoffs hit, either you go in with a naked jersey and you play the playoffs with a naked jersey, or you sell your playoff sponsorship on a different kind of sample, and then negotiate that, hey, if we make the Stanley Cup Final, your patch is going to get moved to somewhere else. Have that be part of the deal.
Shoulder?
If we make the Stanley Cup Final, we'll relocate the patch that you're buying either on the top of the shoulder, the sleeve, somewhere else, or like we'll refund you part of whatever you're paying for this, and you won't get your sponsor in the Stanley Cup Final. But for a sport and a league that loves the trophy that they award so much at the end of the season, like they are so protective of the Stanley Cup, as they should be. It's the greatest trophy in sports. That's an abomination. And I say that very, very strongly. And I know that I'm maybe overreacting or caring too much about a jersey patch placement. I love the Stanley Cup. I love the Stanley Cup Final. I love jerseys. Don't fucking do that shit. It's gross.
Okay, there are a few options. There's shoulder. There is right here. Sean has talked about this. There is just football jersey it. Put it right in the upper chestal region. So you could put it there. Like, I mean, we're already forcing that god-awful forced shield placement there. Might as well just put something right below that.
No.
Or may I interest you in Sean, come back to me, a pants sponsor. Just toss it on the pants. It's going to be cheaper. It's a lower price point. We'll get it on the pants.
My thing, first off, for what it's worth, this was like this last year. It's just that the Oilers didn't have a jersey sponsor. It was exactly like this on the Panthers jerseys. Yeah. But
we talked about last year too.
And we said that the Oilers jersey was so much better because of that.
Yeah. My thing is like, maybe the contract is like you pay more once we get to the Stanley Cup, but like the vast majority of teams that have jersey sponsors are not playing in the Stanley Cup. So it's not like they would have paid. They don't pay for like the guarantee that the jersey is going to be. So either it's specifically in the contract that like if we get to the Stanley Cup, you pay us more money, or they're getting free advertising and they just pay for however games you end up playing, whatever it is. So it seems pretty easy to not have the jersey on during the Stanley Cup. You either write in the contract that we're not doing it for that round if we get there, or they're not paying for it anyways. So you just say fuck yourself.
Yeah, If you get to the Cup Final, take off the jersey sponsors. I think that's an easy solution.
I think it's shoulder. I keep it and put it on the shoulder.
You're saying the ad?
Yeah.
What if you have team logos on the shoulder? Like the Oilers obviously don't, but some teams have shoulder patch logos.
Well, I mean, would you rather it clash with a shoulder patch logo, or would you rather it clash with the?
Yeah, because my thing is like here you could lower the number a little bit maybe and put it over below the number. Like
that's like a redesign though. That would take months.
No, you just move the numbers down.
They
place the numbers.
Awkward and weird.
But I'm saying like to move the number down, like that would be a redesign, and you would need to, because you're also selling these jerseys, so that would. Fanatics would have to.
I mean, I don't think you even really have to move the numbers, to be honest. I think there's probably room above them. But I was gonna say the Panthers also, like they do have shoulder numbers and sleeve patches, but then they have the big, just open white stripe on the sleeve that you could put it on.
Or you could do smaller numbers on the sleeve.
Do it in the numbers.
Or we could not sully a thing that we all love and is pure, and for $5 to $10 million a year. Like, do we really need to maximize the profit margin this badly?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've never cared about jersey sponsors. Like, even when they started coming to baseball, I didn't care about them. I thought the hoopla about
Did
them
you not
was,
care about them, or did you just get used to them?
No, I didn't care about them. I definitely don't want jerseys to become like European jerseys, like European hockey jerseys where they're all over them. But
that's
like
the slope. Like, we're on the slope, and it's going to happen eventually. I made a mock-up of what the Panthers jersey is going to look like when they make the Stanley Cup in 2 years. Like, it's just going to be this. And anybody who's telling themselves otherwise is just fucking lying to themselves.
no, it will never be like that. The NHL will never allow that because they make too much money off merchandise. They're not going to allow that to completely
people buy
change.
soccer jerseys, and that's what soccer jerseys are.
Soccer jerseys, we've talked about this before. Soccer is a completely different culture. They have new jerseys every single season. So like it's a completely different culture. I would be shocked if an American sports league allowed the sponsor to take over the branding that is the reason people buy the jerseys.
I've got a solution. So you guys are a no on pants sponsors.
I mean, I wouldn't care
that's
about
part
them.
of the slippery slope. Like, how many places are we going to put
Oh no,
ads?
no, you get one sponsor. There's a helmet sponsor and there's a below
the neck sponsor.
Yes, or I would say eyes and down, because here's where I'm going with this.
Geez.
What if I were to tell you there is some premium real estate on a piece of equipment that you see that is right near the moneymaker at all times where we could slap an ad? I give you, because this is never in their fucking mouths, put it on the mouth guard. Mouth guard sponsor. It's never in their mouth. Bang.
It's so
all done.
small that it won't be seen.
People will say, what's that on there? And they'll enlarge it. Auto Nation. I don't know what that is.
I guess it would ultimately be the same thing with all the sponsors where I'm going to be like, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Well, I'm going back to my normal insurance. That means nothing to me. Like the jersey, that's my thing is like, do jersey sponsors actually accomplish anything? Like, I haven't bought fucking LaCroix because the Panthers have it on their jersey.
It's a good
question.
question.
Because you're all over the map on them.
That's
who
right.
you're rooting for in this series.
It's a good question. Like, has anybody? I know what Rapid 7 is, kind of, because they were the Bruins sponsor, but like, I've never really cared.
Never
Right? Like,
bought a
that's-
Rapid 7.
And I get that, like, advertising is a little more complicated than that. Like, you're
right.
kind of trying to just get into people's heads and be the thing that they think of when you end up needing that kind of product, blah, blah, blah. I get all of that, but like, yeah, I mean, your idea yesterday, I think, was the best idea. Like, advertising the fact that you are getting the fuck out of the way and taking yourself off the jersey is by far the smartest, and you can only do that if you have it there normally.
Right. Like if a company does that, so what I said yesterday was that if there's a jersey sponsor who took themselves off, like say Play Alberta was like, the Oilers are in the Stanley Cup Final. We are the Oilers jersey patch sponsor. We are taking ourselves off of the jersey so that the Stanley Cup patch can go in its rightful place. That's going to curry more favor than anything. Like the attention that company gets by being like, we're out of here, make way for the Stanley Cup. They'll make headlines.
They're not going to get it. No, they're not going to get attention for it. They're going to
Yes, they will.
They 100%
They definitely will.
We will know about it. We will know about it because we are discussing it on this show.
Hockey fans will know about it.
Hockey fans will know about it, and they will forget who it is 5 seconds later. They'll say, "Hey, did you see the Oilers jersey sponsor?"
That's what a jersey sponsor. That's what we just said. The jersey sponsors are anyway. Like, you don't really register,
but you know what it is. You know that it's Rapid 7. You know that it's Milk. You know that it's Play Alberta.
Yeah,
you know that
Play
it's
Alberta
Auto
takes
Nation.
himself off the jersey and they make headlines. And there's like even if it's for one day, even if it's for 12 hours, if they're in the headline cycle, they're putting themselves in this like your purview the same way that a jersey sponsor
I hear what
would.
you're saying, but you hear that once and you see that once. The reason we know Play Alberta is because we have seen it legitimately 100 times this year. This is the type of shit that I forget. So that's why I'm like, yo, like I promise you, I would forget the name of it if I only saw it once.
But that doesn't go away. If like that, we still have seen it 100 times this year. We're just not seeing it in the Stanley Cup Final. And yeah, the audience is bigger, and a lot newer people would be exposed to that might not otherwise be.
Greg, like I'm saying, like with all due respect, like Greg Cody is forgetting that shit in one second.
Play Alberta is literally only for people in Alberta.
Right.
Also,
only
if
for
you
Oilers
can't
fans.
narrow down which one Play Alberta is, there's legitimately two options.
Yeah, I don't think it would necessarily work for every sponsor. Like LaCroix, I would probably doesn't have like enough kind of brand loyalty and connection specifically to like the South Florida Panthers fan base. But like Play Alberta, it's literally in the name. Like it's an Alberta thing. If you're running ads, whatever, even if they're fucking like Dasher ads being like, we got the fuck out of the way, that curries favor for sure. And also like it's a thing where even if you don't realize it, it's game 3, you're like, oh, I thought they had a jersey patch. And then your friend who is more tapped in is like, actually, they did. And then they took it off. And then it becomes a thing that people talk about after. Like, I disagree that it's something that would just disappear after a few moments.
I think that it would not be as tangible and stick in people's brains as much unless it were a thing like, what sponsor, and maybe this will make the point of like that people don't care as much. What sponsor would you say is most like forever associated with the team?
Like
for
a
me, I would
jersey
say
sponsor?
no. Just like what brand do you think with team? It's Lakers and it's Staples.
Yeah.
And that is going to last forever. People are going to call that building the Staples Center for the rest of time because they are that, like, it's that ingrained. So many things happen that we're always going to get sort of. If you have that type of relationship, then sure. I don't think that we associate any of these brands with these teams.
No, but you don't. Despite the fact that they have been on the jerseys for all year long. Like, if you make a big deal about it, that's finally people will associate it with something. Like, yeah, the jerseys are on, the sponsors on the jersey for 41 games out of the season, and people don't know, or 82, depending on how the partnership. But like, if you make it a big deal for one day, it already becomes a bigger deal than it has been all season long for something that people didn't care about.
I definitely agree with you for us. Like that's something that we would like really sink our teeth into. And I think the people who are interested in the kind of stuff that we like would like that. And they'd be like, cool, great behavior. Maybe that would honestly like curry brand loyalty with us. Like Pete would buy a Play Alberta if Play Alberta said we're taking our thing. Pete would buy like 15 Play Albertas, hand them out like candy. But I think the average person is, unless there is one team's doing it and the other team isn't doing it, like last year, because we did talk about how the Oilers jersey looked better than the Panthers. And I think that one, people, like the average fan would wrap their heads around, where they'd say, how come the patch is on the wrong side for that team? And then you say, oh, well, Play Alberta stepped up and they took theirs off.
I just don't think the average fan cares about the jersey sponsor as it is anyways.
Exactly.
So like if you're making it a conversation piece, that's only a positive for that brand.
Yeah, I would argue the average fan doesn't spend enough time with the jersey anyway that they're going to even
Skill
register.
issue.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the bigger issue here for me is that like once you squeeze the bottle, you're not getting that shit back in the bottle. So I could be wrong here, but this situation is never going to get better. It's only going to get worse. You're only going to get more ads. You're going to give them an inch and they're going to take a foot. And that's why I raised such a big stink about it when they announced that they were doing jersey ads. And like, it just opens up the door for this to get more and more annoying over the years. And that's why I have such a hard time with it, because I love jerseys so much and they're just only going to get worse with more fucking billboards plastered all over them.
Oh, Mike in Woburn says, if the copy's good, then yeah, that makes a difference. He says, if Tide bought the jersey ads right for the Bruins, did not put an ad on the jerseys and said, Tide, keeping Bruins jerseys pristine since 1946, I'd buy nothing but Tide forever. That is excellent. However, how does Milk say that? How does, what's called 7?
Rapid 7.
Rapid 7, of course. I own 100. Like, how do they do that? I think that's great for cleaning products.
I mean, I don't think
for laundry.
Yeah, that specific copy works for that. But I think the message of like, we got the fuck out of the way because we care about you, the fans, is going to hit regardless of the brand that's doing it.
Okay, let's do it for how about Play Alberta letting Edmonton play without shit on their jerseys. So it would all have to go back to like, and their jersey is clean now. Rapid 7. We got out of the way. Yeah, it's not as easy. Tide, yes.
Just have Tide sponsor every NHL
That's
jersey.
yes. Tide sponsor the NHL. Buy
That's
up
right.
this whole fucking league. Glenn Howerton. Okay, we got a solution there. Everybody wins. Let's do some NHL odds and ends. We had, I swear that he said this before, but Pete brought to our attention that there was something floating around of Merrick saying, what about Aaron Ekblad to the Stars? And I don't know if he was speculating or he was saying like the Stars will be interested in Aaron Ekblad.
Yeah, I think it was more the latter. But that makes sense. Makes a ton of sense. Aaron Ekblad, I think, is the kind of guy at this point in his career where he needs to play for a contending team that like doesn't need him to be their number one. Like, is that fair?
I mean, he needs to not be a number one defenseman.
Yeah. And like he's a good player, but like Dallas obviously needs help on the right side, and I think that he would make a ton of sense for them in the way that they play and the what they need to fill.
Yeah,
Agree?
I mean, they just need right shot defensemen so badly.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said yesterday on the show, like they might just need to, or maybe it was last night on the stream, like if the price is right, like they might need to keep Cody Ceci. Like, did they need actual NHL for real good defensemen on the right side so badly? And they had some last year, but because they don't have any like top pairing quality guys, it's a lot of players benching out of their weight class. And if you have Aaron Ekblad, who in my ideal roster construction, Aaron Ekblad is my number 4 defenseman, but like the number 3 defenseman is just barely better than him.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as he's not your number 1 defenseman or your number 2 defenseman, like that Forsling Ekblad pairing got Bobby Schmurted last night. And granted, they were playing against some good competition and they were on the road, but Ekblad ain't no surefire top pairing guy for me.
No,
he
definitely
would
not.
be a godsend in Dallas, though.
Yes, 1,000%. Would really like, it's for the same reason that we wanted the Blackhawks to trade Seth Jones to the Dallas Stars earlier this year. It would be funny if Seth Jones ends up in Florida and it sends Aaron Ekblad to Dallas.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of just accomplishes the same thing, and they definitely need it. It is funny though that like Dallas is the team that we're talking about most as to like if somebody's available, will Dallas go get him?
Yeah.
Who would have thought that happens after they make the Western Conference Final for the 3rd straight year?
Yeah. Sean Monahan wins the Masterton. Meredith Gaudreau surprises him with it. It's amazing. The video the NHL put out, it's so good. Sean Monahan's wife told him that they were doing picture day, so he made himself presentable and all
Put on a
nice.
black t-shirt.
And then he had like light wash jeans and a black t-shirt. I don't know, off season. Like I'm barely holding it together right now.
I thought it was picture day.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. And it's Meredith Gaudreau at the door, and we all knew that Sean Monahan was going to win the Masterton, and Masterton's a weird award because you don't root for someone to get it because you're rooting for
Trauma.
they had to overcome something, and it can be a trauma award. It can be that they came back from something hard in their life, an injury or whatever. Like all these are bad things that you wish did not happen. But in a scenario that has no rule book or playbook or here's how you do it or blueprint, Sean Monahan, by legitimately showing up every day, I think knocked everybody's socks off. So like the easiest Masterton winner maybe in the history of the NHL.
Not according to Daniel Nugent
Yeah.
Bowman.
I wasn't sure if I was going to
Just
call him
said
out by
that.
name.
Oh,
It
no.
is- he
I mean, you
put
can say
out,
it.
yeah,
He sent the tweet.
He sent the tweet. He put out his Masterton ballot.
Nobody asked for it.
Nobody asked
Didn't
for it.
have to do that.
Number 3, Gabriel Landeskog. Number 2, Sean Monahan. Number 1, Marc-Andre Fleury. And I was going to ask in general the behavior of being like, hey, you know this guy that we just acknowledged for overcoming something terrible? Not who I would have picked, though.
You know
Like-
oh, wow.
Deeply unnecessary tweet. Deeply unnecessary. And it's part of the discussion that you brought up to start this whole thing. And we had it earlier in the year. The Masterton Trophy is an award that is worth awarding. It's good to have, good to recognize these guys when they go through stuff. It does not need to have finalists. Does not need to have 3 finalists.
Yeah.
Just award it.
Or just like do the Walter Payton Man of the Year thing and have every team have a finalist and then not name 3 specific finalists.
And I mean, that's what they
or have a
do.
nominee, I
They do have submission. Like every
Yes.
team has a submission, and
Just
that's
leave it at
great.
that.
Yeah, I agree. Both of you leave the 3 out and just give it to the person who obviously deserves it. And
Definitely
that's-
don't release your fucking ballot.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The New York Rangers have rounded out their coaching staff with Joe Sacco and David Quinn among the assistant coaches. David Quinn returns to New York after being Rangers head coach from 2018 to 2021, was most recently the Sharks head coach. Joe Sacco was most recently the Bruins interim head coach. The interesting one there, Quinn back in New York.
Yeah. Who says you can't go home?
Famously. Boston University guy as well.
There
And
goes our relationship with David Quinn.
I know, that's what sucks. David Quinn, nice guy, love him. The
Have we considered-
Rangers will take his phone and light it on fire now.
Trying to become friends with James Dolan. I know he's probably a bad person, but like, if we became friends with James Dolan, we could have everything. We could have it
And
all.
this is like a double whack because assistant coaches aren't allowed to talk anyway, and New York Rangers aren't allowed to do anything. So rest in peace, any and all communication with the great David Quinn, but we wish him the best of luck in New York and at the Combine, because the Combine's going on.
In Buffalo, New York, baby.
What's that?
I said in Buffalo, New York.
That's right. Per Sheng Peng, who does a great job covering the San Jose Sharks. Michael Misa says he's had or will have dinner with 4 teams. No body shaming.
I was going to say.
Like
I'm
when?
Gonna end up with gout.
Yeah.
Gonna end up with gout.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Michael Misa on Gout Watch. Okay.
Yes.
The 4 teams, Per Sheng Peng, San Jose Sharks, New York Islanders, Utah Mammoth, Nashville Predators. Tell me what's missing. Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah.
No Blackhawks. If I'm the Hawks, I'm trying desperately to get into that top 2. Get me a Michael Misa.
Were you saying body shaming because he went to dinner 4 times?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
I thought you were saying that he was like going on dates with 4 people. That's where
Oh.
my mind went.
like how many
bodies.
bodies?
He's got
Body
his
count.
body count.
Body,
Yeah.
yaddy, yaddy.
Yeah,
No.
we're not body shaming or slut shaming. Michael Misa can have dinner with however many people he wants.
As long as
just-
it's not on the same night. Well, because then I'll end up with gout.
right. Just order something different. Don't order
Yeah, I
red
guess
meat
so.
at
Yeah,
every
have
every
salads.
meal. Yeah, that's right. Mix it up.
Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to have that good Caesar salad in Chicago because they're not interviewing him.
That's true. If you're a Chicago head, you know Trivoli Tavern has
The
the
salmon.
best Caesar salad you will ever have in your life. Has a little salmon in it. Trivoli Tavern is the best restaurant in America.
That the night that we went to that restaurant, my literal reaction was, walk outside. This is the greatest country on earth.
Sean loves culture.
I spent
too.
days, no joke. I spent days hyping up that dinner, and I was like, "This is the one thing that I want to do while we're here in Chicago for the Winter Classic. I always go to Trivoli. It's so fucking good, boys and people who are new to the Winter Classic. Please come for the best meal that you've ever had in your life." And I hyped it up so fucking much, and we all left dinner that night being like, "That was the best
Did it.
dinner ever."
Did it?
That was eating good in the neighborhood.
True.
I forget dessert. I got like a crazy strawberry meringue situation.
Yeah.
It was good.
We
eat
ate
good.
so much.
We good.
Oh, did I eat? Okay, folks, if you have not yet subscribed to the YouTube, make sure you definitely do that. Make sure you're subscribed everywhere. Also on the socials, amplify us. Last I checked, let's see the numbers. We are 8 subscribers away on YouTube from 16 million. So just if 8 of you out there, tell 8 friends to subscribe, and we will get that ass. Thank you very much.
Did we know that we are in cup on or name on the cup for the first time ever territory again with 3 different names, 4 different players?
Oh, who?
Trent Frederick, no
Oh.
Trents.
No Trents?
Seth Jones, no Seths.
There's never been a Seth.
More surprisingly, there's never been a Connor with 2 N's. There's Connor Sheary, but Connor Brown and Connor McDavid would be the first double N Connors to to ever be on the Stanley Cup.
How did we not have this discussion last year?
That's
when
what
we did the whole Evan
that was
thing?
my first thought too. I don't know. I guess it was because there was a guarantee that Evan would be on, so that was like a little bit more of a we know Evan's going to be on. But like, yeah, there's never been a double on Connor. Connor Sherry, like I said, Connor Sherry was on there, but he only got one in.
We were kind of burying the lead.
Now every player is named Connor.
Yeah, I know. That's right. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, but like if the Florida Panthers win the Stanley Cup, there still will not have ever been a double N Connor, which I would assume is the more common spelling of Connor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I would imagine.
Right? Like, so yeah, the fact that it's never been on there has been quite surprising.
And then was
Quite
there one
surprising.
more name you said, or was
No,
that
there's 4 players, but 2 of them are Connor Brown and Connor McDavid.
I, inspired by that comment from Mike Noyes, Dent Frederick, I will make a personal guarantee that if the Oilers win the Stanley Cup, Trent Frederick will somehow fuck up his day with the cup.
What I'm wondering is, are Stanley Cup names alphabetical order? Or I know they do captains first.
I believe after that.
I think after that
I was gonna say that Connor Brown could be the first Connor on the
McDavid
cup
would be.
because of alphabetical order. But despite what big ad patches might try to cover up, Connor McDavid is the captain of the Oilers. So he
I
would
would say
go
it
before.
wouldn't cover it. It draws more attention to it. There's like oh, what's all that going on over in that corner of the jersey?
The series is young. By the end, it's going to be covered up with. There's going to be like Cheerios. It's going to be.
I want to introduce like heritage patches, like heritage stickers in college football. Like just start like Connor should have like 18 C's on his jersey.
Will Chapel Roan be the first Chapel to get her name on the Stanley Cup?
She might be the first Chapel to touch it. Well, I'm sure it's been in chapels before.
Maybe. Yeah. So you think anyone's bringing it to church?
Yes, for sure.
Somebody's
In the
definitely brought it to
over the
church.
last century of hockey, there has to have been somebody who's like, Father Mike needs to see this.
Somebody's baptized their baby in the Stanley Cup.
Oh, we'd definitely do that.
Splash around in here.
Yeah, we'd definitely do that. Okay, everybody. Pete, did you tell the folks to amplify?
You did, but I'll tell them again. Amplify. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are very close to 16 million subscribers. That is so huge. We're also on social media at What Chaos Show, at all the socials pretty much, I think, except for TikTok where we're just What Chaos. I don't know, man. You can find us. We're there. If you're on audio, we're also there. 5 stars in a nice little blurb would be nice. Any way you can amplify the show, even if it's just word of mouth, we very much appreciate it. We're in the home stretch here, and we want as many of your ears and eyes as possible.
How long until there's ads on the cup? What if like after they're like captain Connor McDavid, assistant captain Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, assistant captain Evan Bouchard or Darnell or whatever.
Brought to you by AutoNation.
Play Alberta. Head coach Chris Knobloch.
That
Whatever
would be
order
the
they put it
day
in.
that I become a KHL fan.
There's, I was going to say, are there Chris's with a K on the cup? Definitely.
Chris,
I wouldn't be that confident in that. I feel like that's not.
I think like
I don't know the easy way to search that.
maybe we'll figure it out. We got a show tomorrow as well, so we'll talk to you then. Bye.
No slate grade.
Oh, Slate gave me a Slate grade? Ain't shit. Thursday, June 5th.
See you tomorrow. There's a game tomorrow.
Yep. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.